The International Monetary Fund wants the central bank to stop giving out new intervention funds and admonish the central bank on its continuous funding of government deficits. Nigeria's central bank over the last 5 years intervened in the economy via specially designated loans to key sector of the economy. Data from the Apex Bank reveals that the central bank has intervened with about 11 trillion naira designated under claims on other sector, and another 27 trillion to the federal government, inclusive of the 22 naira in ways and means. The policy of intervening in the private sector increased after the COVID-19 lockdown, but with the reopening of the economy amid today's headwind, the global lender is advising the Apex Bank to halt this. Well, to help us make sense of these and the effects it have on the private sector, we are joined today by Mr. Olusegun Okwade, the chairman, ICANN Ikeja District. Good morning.
Good morning, Dapple, and good morning to our viewers this morning.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. So let's keep the ball rolling now. What do you make of this recommendation made by the IMF telling the central bank to stop intervening through funds in the private sector?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure the basis at which IMF is advising Apex Bank, the central bank of Nigeria, is on the premise of some of the records that it has had. While you're reading your prologue, you were able to attribute figures to some of the interventions that have been given to several sectors, 11 trillion to the 27 trillion to the central government. And you ask yourself the question of what impact have we been able to enjoy what is expected of us as citizens, as businesses, since some of these intervention funds have actually been provided. I'm very sure we know about the intervention on the aspect of the power sector for metering gap. It came out at the time, the people being alleged that it was not judiciously used. You heard about the anchor borrower scheme for the agricultural sector, and as we speak, the cost of food has not nosedived. It has not impacted on the citizen. And you discover that the major boom of consternation, why IMF is saying it, there seems not to be proper monitoring on the part of CBN to put their face or put their app to where their funds is, so that you can have that expected dividend, which is expected to every citizen or to every business owner, and it's impacting more. These are funds that should be used to create infrastructure that an average businessman needs to ride on. If you have the infrastructure there, with what we have now, every business seems to be stabilizing. But because we like the infrastructural development expected of every business to ride on, and we being the devil with security challenges, you discover that the businesses on their own are struggling. And if you permit me, before I round up that thought, part of the area where every business is counted on is energy, power. We discovered that the power supply has been very epileptic. We discovered that the alternative power supply to be used is expensive. Diesel are not easy to come by. Petrol are not easy to come by. And these are basic things that if we have provided them, an average businessman would have had the opportunity to grow the businesses in such a way that they, by now, after the intervention of coming out of COVID, be able to normalize things. But it has not been like that because there has been gap. And the gap is attributable to the infrastructure deficiency that we have in the system.
Well, one thing that we both agree on is that the reason why the central bank was lifting up the private sector was because of it was hit hard by COVID. But now that they have still not recovered fully, will it be wise, let's use the word wise, for the central bank to stop intervening in the private sector?
Of course, if you look at the borrowing level of the government, which seems to be borrowing to be funding sector without getting value for them. If you are self-sufficient and you are not borrowing, well, we can say that CBN can continue in that like mine. You know what our debt profile level is over 40 $40 billion, and that is massive, and it keeps increasing. Even though the minister will tell you that our debt to GDP ratio is still fair, but you ask yourself, some of these funds that are being borrowed, are they judiciously invested in order to retrieve funds for future people that they will not be able to be paying the debt that somebody has taken care of? That is the problem that we are faced with. We cannot continue to be borrowing, to be funding aspects that should be generating revenue as we speak. And the gap, like I said at my intro, is no other thing than the infrastructure deficiency. Take, for example, the means of transportation would have been much more easier and saving also much productive time if our rail system is perfect and is on point. You know so much that was paying on the rail system from Abuja to Kaduna. It's been non-functional because of the level of insecurity. So it's not. And you ask yourself, that is capital that is being tied up. We actually diverted money into that area to create that infrastructure for easy flow of the business. So what are we getting? If some of the if the rails do not even carry the people, let's say, well, definitely you can carry goods and commodity and avoid the road of the heavy trucks that are affecting the road that is not making it to land. But what are we saying? We've seen series of attacks on the road, and it has stopped the government of allowing road to fly the highway. So the investment in that sector is nothing to write about. Same thing is not about power sector, which is like the fulcrum at which the sector must go. A lot has been done. We put that generation into the hands of the private sector, but how much monitoring are we doing? We have one way or the other create intervention fund for the disco. Government is still managing CCA, having like the state. But we've created lots of intervention for the disco. And you ask yourself, is it the government that still manages the disco or the private sector? So you ask yourself, if you are subsidizing or intervening by providing intervention funds, you are supposed to monitor and bring to bear those that are not fulfilling their obligation in repaying back or giving value for what those funds are meant for. And that is the gap where people seem to be capitalizing on. And I think I will go in line with what IMF is saying, that if you stop it, definitely everybody will recalibrate their system and look for ways to make things much more better rather than funding people with borrowing when you are not getting value for some of those things.
Well, before they recalibrate, we've seen that the global headwind is making it difficult for them to recalibrate. Isn't this one consideration that should be put into place?
Let me state that fine, we are in a global market. So
yes.
Every country is domesticating their problem and finding solutions to it domestically. If you go to Asian country, if you go even to Europe, I'm sure you know a lot is actually biting out of that. Go to UK, go to US, go to Canada. They are actually looking internally on things they need to do to actually create, that better living for their citizens. And I think same is applicable. Enough of we attributing our failure to the war that is going on in Russia and Ukraine. And we have vast land in the land here. When we divert funds, when funds meant for development of area arts.
Oh, I think we've lost Olusegun Okwande. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Welcome back. We're still speaking with the chairman of the Halting Ikeja district, Mr. Olusegun Okwande, where he's explaining the role that is analyzing the need for the central bank to follow recommendations made by the IMF to remove its intervention that is providing to the private sector. Olusegun, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I'll let you land on that thought before we went on that short break.
Yeah, while I was trying to make part of the things I need to let you know is the infrastructure we are complaining about. We have been interjected because there was failure on the part of the infrastructure being there. There are several times you try to even use the data It gets you connected, but it's really not give you the service that is expected of us. But in the same time, that is not a problem because the intake of so many things relies so much on data, on the voice call. People stay back at home. At least COVID has taught us that, and it's part of what you're saying. That how much have we actually pumped into the sector? How much have we been able to monitor to get value for it? To round up that thought, I would say that I will go with what the IMF is saying because this, if the CBN is able to stop this, it will really assist in areas where when company goes into liquidation and you funded them, how do you recover back the money? I mean, it becomes a free fund, and that can be considered as a waste because nobody is doing. And anyone that is found culpable when funds are invested intervention to a salvage situation and it's not done as expected, they should be brought to book so that it will serve as deterrent to others to know that the money from the government is not a free fund but a support to actually get value to the citizen.
Well, now, another recommendation that the IMF made said the country has had to rely too much on debt, and to prevent this, that the country needs to widen the VAT net. So one of the recommendations Zolto gave was that Nigeria should move from 7.5% VAT to around 15%. That's about 100% increase. Do you think this is a possible approach, considering the fact that businesses are already complaining about this high cost of doing business in the country?
That will absolutely no.
Okay.
That is not the route I feel that the government should go as we speak. Because you discover that the small surviving companies are the ones you're still going to keep, knowing fully well that aside the taxes that these people pay, they pay additional taxes in the area of provision of certain infrastructure for themselves. The company that pays those taxes to the government still provide his own water, provide his own road, provide his own power, and you ask yourself, they are taxes, but you may not be able to attribute it. You only hide it under operational expense. So I would say that government should look for ways to expand the tax base for them to be able to recoup it and earn the trust of every individual in such a way that when you expand the tax, first you fulfill your social contract, you expand the tax base, then you'll be able to earn the trust of average citizens in such a way that they pay their taxes at will. It is not increasing the tax rate. Aside that, we are even talking about increasing VAT. We have multiplicity of taxes, which is a big challenge on the part of business owners. Not to talk of the one we face with the local government, with the state government and the federal. The local government seems to be worse because you don't know whether they call it levy. But what's accrued to them is much more than what you give even to the federal government and the state government. So if you're able to harmonize these taxes just in one, increase the base of those that pay taxes by making sure that some of the infrastructure needed for businesses are provided and the people are willing because of the value proposition they are getting from paying their taxes, definitely you get more revenue from it. Well, the route of increasing the tax net, the tax base is not the way to go. Increase the people that need to pay taxes. And the only way that can be done is earning their trust, their confidence that when they pay taxes, certain things will be put in place for them that will assist their business and not them paying taxes in multiple places, by providing those infrastructure that is expected to be provided by government.
Well, this is a very good place to hold that conversation. Thank you very much, Olusegun Okwade, for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Yes.
You are the best of the day to our viewers.
Thank you very much.